Hello everyone, how are you today? I hope that you are in the right condition. So today we would like to presentations about Krashen's language equation hypothesis. This presentation created by groups with the name Angga Sila Dharma and Putu Wilantari. So let's we continue about the Stephen Krashen language equation hypothesis. Stephen Krashen theory of the second language equation. This method does not force early production in the second language, but allow the student produce when they are ready. Recognizing that improvements come from supplying communicative and comprehensible input, and not from forcing and correcting production. Stephen Krashen, University of Southern California, is an expert in the field of linguistics, specializing in theories of language acquisition and development. His theory of SLA is widely known and well accepted, has had a large impact in large area of the second language research and teaching since the 1980s. Stephen Krashen theory of second language. Have some word. Language acquisition does not require extensive use of conscious grammatical rules and does not require tedious drill. Acquisition requires meaningful interaction in the target language natural communication, in which speakers are concerned not with the form of their utterances, but with the message they are conveying and understanding. The best methods are therefore those that supply comprehensible input in low anxiety situations containing message that students really want to hear. Krashen theory of the second language equation consists of 5 main hypotheses. The first one is the acquisition learning hypothesis. The second one is the monitor hypothesis. The third one is the natural hypothesis. And the fourth one is the input hypothesis. And the fifth one is the effective filter hypothesis. So the acquisition learning hypothesis. This is the most fundamental in the hypothesis in current theory and the most widely known among linguistic and language practitioners. According to the Krashen, there are two independent systems of the second language performance. The first one is the acquired system, and the second one is the learned system. The acquired system, or the acquisition, is the produce of the subconscious process very similar to the process children undergo when they acquire their first language. In the request meaningful interaction, the target language, natural communication, in which speakers are concentrated within the form of their utterances, but in the communicative act. The learned system, or the learning, is the product of formal instruction and has the conscious process which result in conscious knowledge about the language. For example, knowledge of grammar rules. According to Krashen, learning is less important than acquisition. And the second one is the monitor hypothesis. Explain the relationship between acquisition and the learning and defines the influence or the monitor on acquisition and learning. The monitoring function is particle result of the learned grammar. According to Krashen, the acquisition system is the untrained initiator, while the learning system performs the role of the monitor and the editor. The monitor acts in a planning, editing, and correcting function when the three specific conditions are met. That is, the second language learner has sufficient time at his or her disposal, and he or she focus on from or thinks about correctness, and she or he knows the rule. According to the Krashen, the role of the monitor is or should be minor, being used only to correct deviation from normal speech and give speech a more polished appearance. It appears that the role conscious learning is somewhat limited in the second language performance. Carson also suggests that, that there is individual variation among language learners with regards to monitor use. Learners who have not learned or who prefer not to their conscious knowledge. Learners that use monitor appropriately optimal use, and learners that use the monitor all the time. So the next about the monitor hypothesis question will continue by my friend. So the time is yours.
Okay, the next I will explain about the monitor hypothesis. The first, how does monitor hypothesis impact language learning? Who can speak better, introvert or extrovert, and why? And then second, so do we monitor the language we use in our daily conversation? And then third, extrovert are you under user, while introvert and perfectionists are over user of the monitor. And the last, lack of self-confidence is frequently related to the overuse of the monitor. And the next, I will explain about natural order hypothesis. The natural order hypothesis describe about first there are significant similarities that reinforce the existence of natural order of language acquisition. And then second, suggests that the acquisition of grammatical structure follow a natural order which is predictable. And then third, this order seems to independent of the learner age, the background condition of exposure. And then last, Krashen reject the idea of grammatical sequencing in the language program or syllabus when the goal is language acquisition. And next, I will explain about input hypothesis. The input hypothesis describe about this hypothesis is Krashen's explanation of how second language acquisition takes place. And then the input hypothesis is only concerned with acquisition, not learning. And then according to this hypothesis, the learner improve and progress along the natural order when he or she receives second language input that is one stop beyond his or her current stage of linguistic competence. And then for example, if a learner is at a stage I, then a question take a place take a place when he or she is exposed to comprehensive input that belong to level I plus 1. Is the learner current level of linguistic competence while while one is the new linguistic input which is just beyond the current level. And then signs not all the learner can be at the same level of linguistic competence at the same time. Krashen suggests that natural communicative input is the key to designing a syllabus, ensuring in this way that each learner will receive some I+1 input that is appropriate for his or her current stage of linguistic competence. The first, how has Krashen natural order hypothesis affect our curriculum development? And then last, do you think that this approach is workable in the Malaysian primary school and why? And then the last part of affective filter hypothesis. The first, it embodies Krashen's view that a number of affective variables play a facilitative but non-causal role in second language acquisition. And then second, these variables include motivation, self-confidence, and anxiety. And then third, Krashen claims that learners with high motivation, self-confidence, a good self-image, and a low level of anxiety are better equipped for success in second language acquisition. And then the last, low motivation, low self-esteem, and debilitating anxiety can combine to raise the affective filter and form a mental block that prevents comprehensive input from being used for question. Okay, that's all. Thank you for your attention.